Okay, let's take a look at applying a texture, specifically an image. So I'm gonna delete this, and I'm gonna go over to the Create tab here, and I'm gonna drop on a plane. I'm gonna do an RX to rotate it about this axis. Clean up a little bit more. Part of when you have your mouse so close to the center like that, and you're doing rotate, you can't get really a good effect. If you do an RX over here, you have a little bit more control. And I can point that toward myself. Now it's really hard to see, but up here, you see there's like a tree thing, like an orange and two white things. To the left of it is what looks like in the top right corner, like 4 lines. If you put your mouse over it, becomes a plus. Does everybody see that? Okay, then you click and hold down and drag to the left, and you can create a new window. This is so if you want to, as you're working, if you want like a view from a different angle, or if you just want to do something different in general, then you can do that. Now, if I choose my, see it says current editor type for this area. If I change this, then I can choose all different kinds of options, which we've seen. And there's a UV image editor here. So I'll choose it. And I'll resize this a little bit. Like that. Now over on this side, we got our plane. And if I choose this little white ball down here, I can change the view, and I can change it to texture. But do you really see any change there? Yeah. So I'll set it back to solid. Now we want to go into edit. So you want to do a tab to go into edit. Actually, remember to.
Wait, Jay, how do you go to the transform tab thing? Because like I had some trouble trying to get open. Now I have like some transform tab.
Let me see.
Oh,
What he's talking about is instead of the plus there, let me put this back. Maybe I can't put it back. Grab it by this, put it back. Or I remember how to close it now. Okay, let me do a new. What you're talking about is when you grab this, instead of that, you choose the plus. And you move it out like that. What you do is you just grab the left side and you move back. That's how you get that disappear. Okay, so I'm going to create a new window there. I have to refresh my memory how to close that window. Okay. There's a view close window. Okay. Anyway, we got this over here. I'm going to choose this option, so I can choose the UV image editor. But I don't want the cube. I'm going to right-click that and press delete and put the plane back. Do an RX rotate it somewhat. There we go. Zoom in a little bit so we can see it a bit better. Now over here in this UV image editor, we're going to need to work with this. Now that doesn't open up the actual object. All that opens up is the editor. We're going to need to unwrap this. So if I go into edit mode over here on my plane, so press tab while your cursor's over here. You should go in this way. If you do an A, you should unselect them. If you do an A, has all of them selected. If you do a U for unwrap, UV unwrap, if I choose that unwrapping there, this now gives us something we can work with over here. Good so far? Now if I do an open, now I want to go to my documents. So I'll click documents over here on the left side. But I want to go up one level. And so then I'm going to choose pictures. It's probably a very quick way to get to it, but it's eluding me now. And I choose Pink Panther. The what? It should be on the bottom. See it? Okay. And then for some reason, I have trouble locating it here, so I just go to Documents, and then I go to one level, and I see pictures. Then you choose whichever one. Okay, so now I got this, but you don't see anything appear over here. If you did chose a little white ball down here, and you change it to texture, then you see kind of an outline of it right there. Still not what we want. Is yours upside down? Yeah. Picture's not showing up.
Yeah, I'm in my pictures. I put in the camera roll to see if that worked just now. But the picture's not there. So it says student documents my pictures.
Strange. Copy it to your documents if you haven't already. You might have to refresh it.
Did you refresh it?
Or go just click documents. Still not there. That is. I think because you have something here. Do an asterisk which is blank.
And then
enter. You got asterisk dot asterisk. Sorry, I didn't say that. And now choose my picture or whatever number of documents in this one. No, approach.
I put some in my drive too. They're not showing up either.
Cancel there. And which open did you put?
What did I do?
This is open you want to enter. There you go.
You said they open up here.
Yeah, I saw the open blend file button. Wait a minute, that's I don't think I said that.
Yeah, I said you see the cursor going.
That's the worst part since it'd be like if there's a way to do it. I just haven't figured out how to do it yet. Wherever your mouse is and you click, it's yellow. Have you ever seen that?
Yeah, I think you guys downloaded something.
Yeah. I've seen that in the little tutorial videos. It's like, oh, that's too cool, because then you see exactly where I'm clicking. Okay. Now you'll get mixed results if over here you go to object mode and you choose your texture. I'm really surprised that mine's looks like that.
This is the way it is. Like if you try rotating it, not this one. Like rotate the actual object. Like R and then X.
R and then X. Huh. Oh well. Worked for you. Okay. Well, anyway, I go back to solid. And it's obviously not appearing there. Now I'm in object mode over here. I have this selected. There's this little over here, or little ball. If I click that, we want a new material. So I want to click new here.
I'm sorry, can you make sure what ball you're talking about?
Oh, let me see. If you right click your plane and you're in object mode, okay, then you have to scoop this out of the window. You'll see the ball. Yeah. Then click new. Now this drops on a material onto our object. Now if you go over to the textures here, and we got our first one selected here, then you can click new. And down here you see there's an image down to close to the bottom where it says open. Now if I go and open that image I just was working with, well, that's just strange. Mine's not working. Is yours working? Oh, yeah. Oh, helps if you have that right. Maybe I have to render it.
I did render and it's showing up.
It's showing up?
Yeah. I picked rendered. Yeah.
How bizarre. I tried that just during lunch to make sure. I remember the sequence of steps, but mine isn't showing up. I wonder if it's because I don't have a sun. Let me click over here. I'm going to add the sun. Render image. No. So yours is working then with the render, but yours isn't.
Well, I did like the little ball down there. Like, yeah, and then I did render.
Oh, that.
Yeah, that worked for me.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I do see it there. So why doesn't it work when I actually render it? Render image. Maybe because I'm pointing the wrong way. Let me rotate my object. Okay. rotate X, render image. It's just, it's not liking me today. It's upside down now, but let me change my view to the camera. Okay, so my camera's pointing at the back, I think, isn't it? An object. RY. Look at it. RZ. RZ. Okay, then do my render image. Still not there.
I got mine.
You got yours to work?
Yeah, I moved the camera.
Oh, there's a camera right in front of me. Okay, so we got the camera. And I'm gonna grab that. The what? Oh, did you? Yeah, that should be all you have to do.
Put a sun on there and turn it around right there. And where it's facing the camera, you have to move my camera.
See, now you got me wondering if I put that back where it was.
Granted, I put the sun right up on the
Close. It's upside down now, but okay. So let me rotate that. Did I grab the right one? I think so. Oh well, all of you got yours working right. There, perfect. Okay, so that's how you put an image on. Now there's lots of other features too. Like if you go into edit here, you can you come over here, you do an A for unselect, and you can right click one of these corners, and you can do a G for grab and move it in like that. What do you notice it did? Cut off the cut off the legs. So if you got an image you're bringing in, you just want part of it. So like if I come down here and click that, do a G for grab, do a G for grab there, render image, like that. we're going to see there's a lot of other features you can do with that. Like if we work with a cube, we won't do it today, but if you work with a cube, you can put a different image on each face of the cube. Part of that is having to do with the unmapping and so forth. You're pretty good on adding an image to a texture?
You know how you like grab the cube and like cut off some of the space on the right side? How do you do that? Because I can't. Do you have to be in a render image to do it?
I had to do render image to see the change.
Yeah, but like how do you
Over here,
edit it on the other side, on the right side?
over here, you have to be in edit mode. And once you're in edit mode,
Yeah.
if you got all of them selected, so you have to do an A to select them all.
Mm-hmm.
Then if you come over here, everything will be active.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay, now it works. I did edit before.
Yeah, if you're over here and if you don't have them selected,
Mm-hmm.
if you come over here, you can't grab anything.
Yeah.
So it has to actually be all your vertices selected here. Well, where this is headed is a project I'm going to give you today is after we cover some more is to create a flag flapping. And with your flag, you want to have an image on it. Now it'll just be on one side for now, so don't worry about that. So I don't want to get too much in depth on that. But that's how you'll put an image on it, like American flag or something like that. Now I've never done it, but in theory, if I have this, delete that, and I add a plane, rotate it X, and I'll have to find something to, and I scoot this out. When you got your object, there's a choose a new, and come over here to texture, and you choose your new here. You notice it says image or movie. I've had a student do this, but you can put a video playing on like a plane. So like if you wanted to create an animation of cars, coming and going at a drive-in theater, you could have a movie playing up there. Now, for what she told me, it took a long time to render to work, so I think there's cost to it. I don't know if you can do an open here and open like or not a JPEG, but MP4 or something like that. But some way there is a way to put a movie on here. Now, I don't think you have to do the UV unmapping on that. But if I tried to find a movie, it would just be an inappropriate movie, so I won't do that. But I'll create one, and play with some. Okay, now I'm going to delete this. And I'm going to add on a plane. Rotate it about the x-axis. This is going to be our flag. So I'm going to do an S for scale and make it a little bit bigger so I can see it. We can drop an image on there if we you will for the project, but we won't for now because we're showing something else. So I'll do a tab to go into edit. All of your vertices should currently be selected. If they're not, press A. Then you do W and then S for subdivide. WS, WS, WS. In order for it to have a cloth look to it, you have to have enough vertices. If you only have 4 vertices, it's not going to. Think of like a piece of sheet metal. Would that blow in the wind very much? No. So you have to have vertices to simulate cloth. Now I'm going to go out of edit, now that I've created all those vertices. And I have to remember where it's at over here. Let's see. There's, no, not add modifier. Physics is physics. So if you come over here to the physics in the far right, the little whatever that is, ball bouncing, you see there's a cloth option there. So if you click cloth, you've just applied a cloth physics modifier to this plane. Now this is all the different things you can do with cloth. The mass of it, structural, blending, spring, air, velocity. I'm not very good at these. I always have to go look for a tutorial on like the flag to figure out what these settings should be so it looks the best in terms of cloth. Here's damping of cloth velocity. Higher equals more smooth, less jiggling. So you change that to higher, then you'll have more of a smooth look. Now there's a trade-off for some of that because some of it renders a lot slower than when you're creating a video. Okay, now if I just do a play at this point, yeah, it drops. So that's what cloth would do, right? Cloth would drop to the ground. Well, we need to pin it. And so let's take a look at how to pin that. You actually do you see the pinning down here? So that's a little bit of it, but we need to get back to that. Okay, so I'm come over here. This is an object mode currently. I do a tab to go to edit mode. I'm going to do an A. Done, select everything. I'm going to right click this one vertex right up here. Maybe I'd hold down my shift and right click the first four there. So I'm just choosing those first four. Now there's a over here. There's a looks like a triangle, upside down triangle, with 3 white dots. See that right there? We're going to create something called a vertex group. A vertex group basically says that we're taking these 4 vertices and we're assigning it to a group, so we can do something with it. So there's a plus here. If you click that plus, it creates a vertex group, but we haven't actually assigned anything to it. We now have these 4 selected, don't we? So we're going to go ahead and click the assign. And it doesn't look like it's changed anything, but what it's done is it's assigned those 4 vertices to that group. Now probably, I don't want it to say group. So you can double click that and type in left upper corner. Like that. Now, if you put your mouse over here in the main part of your screen and you just do an A, it'll unselect it. Let's say I want to select that vertex group. I have this highlighted here. You see there's a select. So if I click select, you see these 4 selected. That's useful if you got a whole slew of them, so you don't have to keep choosing them. Keep picking them. I'll learn to speak English someday. Now you can create other vertex groups. Like I can do an A to unselect that. I can come over here and hold down my shift and right click those right there. To create another vertex group, you can click this plus again. And this would be the right upper corner. And what did I do? Delete that. I meant to double click this. There. Right upper corner. And press enter. Again, I can, if I have that selected, I can or wait a minute, I didn't do the sign, did I? Have to do the sign. That's very important. Otherwise, it doesn't actually assign anything to it. Now, if I do a deselect, right upper corner is highlighted here. I click select. It selects those 4. Okay, I do a deselect. I choose left upper corner and I choose select. It chooses that. Okay, so I'm going to do a deselect. Nothing selected, right? Let's say I didn't get enough vertices. If I right-click this one and hold down my Shift key, right-click these. So I got those 4 selected now, don't I? Left upper corner is selected. If I now do an assign, and now do an A to unselect it. Now if you do a select, what do you see? New vertices, right? So that's a way, if you don't quite got your vertex group quite right, you can modify it. Like if you're trying to create that flag animating and it's like, that don't look quite right. Like when I did this earlier, I selected the first two columns of vertices. And if you choose the first 2 columns and you pin them, that means that that's going to remain rigid and the rest of it will be blowing. Is that what a flag does? No. And even then, if a flag, if you think about it, how it attaches to a pole, it actually is in 2 places, isn't it? So it's like the upper left-hand corner or upper left and lower left corner. So I could unselect that, and if I wanted to choose that, I could come over here, click a new one. This is going to be called my flag positions. I'm going to select this, hold down my Shift key, and I don't know how much I need to select, but definitely if I chose this upper and this bottom, maybe that's enough. Maybe I want to choose these. Thinking of like if you had in the middle, if you had a hole cut out, that's where like the rope would go, right? So then you have to, again, after you choose them, you have to make sure you do the assign. Just creating a group doesn't actually assign anything. So you click the assign and do an A to unselect it, and then you can do a select to make sure you got your vertex group selected right. Good so far? Now, I'm going to go to object mode, and I'm going to go back to my physics. And I got my cloth here. By the way, you can apply different, more than one. You could say it's cloth and fluid and smoke all at the same time. Not sure what that would ever give you, but so we have cloth selected. You see the pinning down here now. If I click that, it pops up with the 3 vertex groups I created. So let me choose flag positions. Now you notice that there's a stiffness here, and I have no clue what's probably a bad Google search. What should my stiffness be? That's where I have to go sit in the vice president's office explaining what came up on the screen. I'd probably put in like blender. What should the stiffness be? To enable pinning, you have to click this little checkbox to the left of it. And you see there's a whole lot of things here. What happens when a cloth collides with itself, for example. Scaling, spraying, so forth. Anyway, let me run that. So I do the animation. It's not doing anything, is it? We need that wind. Okay, so I'm going to unselect it, and I'm going to click over here and put my 3D cursor over to the far left. And I'm going to choose empty. I always have trouble seeing the empty. There it is. Choose empty there. Now we're still over here on the physics, and you see there's a force field here. Now if you click force field, we don't want force. We want to choose wind. So I do the drop down and choose wind. Now the strength is 1. If I start increasing the strength, keep clicking it, you notice what it's doing? It's going up, isn't it? That went up by a 5. Earlier, when I was testing it, I had forgotten what the number should be. I put 1,000 in there, and it wasn't. It was just like I couldn't see it at all. It was just like, well. And then when I ran the animation, my cloth blew off the screen. I hadn't pinned it, and I'm sitting there. Well, that's strange. I've not even seen my wind. Again, that understanding what that is and helps you know what this should be. Maybe 15 is appropriate. Where's my wind blowing? Yeah, it's blowing up. Yeah, so I want to rotate, and I have trouble thinking the axis here. RX, I think, like that. Now let me choose this, and let me unpin it. And let me play it. See what happens to our cloth? Gets blown away. Yeah. And not only that, but it even falls down because gravity is applying, doesn't it? Now I have to tell you, when I did this earlier, so I was testing to make sure I remembered it, and I had to refresh my memory where the Vertex Groups was. So it's like it makes sense when I saw the 3 triangles. The first time I did the animation, it didn't do anything, but then the second time it went through, that's when it worked. Kind of an oddity of it. You see, as I move the timeline, I click on the timeline and start moving my mouse. I can see what looks at different stages. So if you don't got that wind quite right, then you can see what kind of effect you need to achieve. If it's not colliding correctly, see the cloth collision down here? I can expand that, and you see there's a self collision. Let's enable self collisions. And now if I run it, I'm not sure if I saw any difference. Mainly because it's not colliding with itself at that point, I'm assuming. Distance, 0.5 means no distance at all. 1 is the maximum distance. Quality, how many self-collision iterations should be done. Higher is better. Quality, but slower. Like I say, I'm not a genius at figuring out what these values should be. I usually go look at somebody who's really spent some time on it to get that good look, and I find out what these numbers should be. Cloth stiffness. If you check that, then you can specify what the structural stiffness is. Have no clue what's the best one to use there. Anyway, now let me come back to my wind. I'm going to right-click on my empty, and for my wind, instead of 15, let me change it to 1,000 like I had earlier. Do you notice how my circles disappeared? I only have one. That's what I thought. I was just like, what? And I thought I didn't remember it correctly. And then I did my play, and the cloth blew away very fast, right? That's your tornado blowing it off. Hurricane. Okay, so I'm going to come back to here, and I'm going to set it back to, what was it, 15?
If I don't have my cloth selected, it doesn't, the one doesn't work.
Really?
Yeah.
See, I don't got my cloth selected now. Mine does.
Like I have to select mine to see what it does.
If I have this selected, let me see what happens. Mine works. Strange things happens in these packages.
Okay, well now it works.
Did it work?
Yeah, I went back to the wind, now it works.
Okay. Now again, one time I had to let it go completely through the animation, and then the second time it worked.
Yeah.
So I don't understand the programming behind that, but sometimes you have to do that, I guess. Okay, now we want to work with the pinning. So make sure your cloth is chose, and we're going to come back over to the cloth and choose pinning, and mine's flag positions. So let's run the animation now. And mine isn't doing anything. What if this is where it has to go through another one? There it goes. Second time through the animation is where it actually started blowing. As I rotate that, you see the effect of choosing two columns. I did the four vertices up above and four vertices down below. Does that look good enough? And if you notice this right here, the little squares, that corresponds to the vertices I selected, doesn't it? So let's stop that. And let's go create some more. I'm going to go into edit mode. So I go to W. And I'm not sure what this will actually do to our vertex groups, but let's create some more vertices. So I'm going to do an A for unselect, an A for select again to choose everything. I'll choose W, S for subdivide, and we got more places. Now you can achieve without creating vertices. There's other ways of doing this. Remember that smooth feature we looked at before, where you could get things. So there's other options there. Okay, so I'm going to do a tab, go back, and let me do my animation again. I don't know why it has to go through. Probably if I didn't make my animation so long, it'd come back faster. But
It just falls apart.
Yours is falling apart?
Oh no, it's just like yours basically.
Oh yeah, it's going a lot slower, isn't it? Of course, what would I need to do to increase the wind?
Yeah.
So if I come here instead of 15, I don't know, 50. If I did 1,000, I'd probably really see it flapping. Probably cause the machine to crash.
I'm okay. The same thing. Yeah.
What you're doing?
Yeah, like yours is kind of blowing in the air, but like mine just fell apart like the other time.
Is it still falling apart?
Yeah.
We come look at it. I'm just curious.
Maybe it's because of where the position is for my one. It's kind of blowing now, see. Oh, last time it was at like 15 kilos.
And it takes somebody with some really good either a thought process on it, or they spend a lot of time to get a realistic effect. But these are animations you see in like Pixar films. We got a flag blowing or so forth, or in a game. If you have a flag sitting there blowing, some things you can control via the 3D game, but some things you just want to bring in as animations, so they're not sitting there. Because if you think about it, if you had to programmatically control everything in the game, it would be kind of tedious, wouldn't it? Yeah. Now, it's been a while since I've done this, but somewhere there's a randomness too. There it is, seed. And I couldn't tell you about the seed of the noise, or maybe I have to choose a noise here. This, what that does, if you know what settings to put on it, is does wind always blow the same speed? No. So you can change it, and the seed is like a randomness where you throw it in there and noise, such that it has a different effect. And like I say, I have no clue what these values should be, but let's choose that. I'm going to change my wind to 1,000. No, 300. There, that's not looking too bad. Of course, it's blowing so hard. Does it? Mine's blowing so hard that it's just like going in the opposite direction of the wind. If you think about it from a real life standpoint, does wind always come just from one place? No. So what do you think you could do? Put more wind in. Like if I unselect everything and I click here and drop another empty on, and then that's curious. Maybe I can only put one wind. I never have tried to put two. I may be wrong. Oh, there it is. It's like I'd scrolled it down somehow. Well, there's no way to scroll down. I don't know why it was clear down there. Okay, so add force field and add wind. It's now pointing up. So I do a rotation and point it that way. I could rotate it some more. Let me choose a little rotate tool since I'm having such poor luck there. Okay, there. And I need to increase my strength. I can't see that at all. There, it's pointing. If you make it, even if you don't want it 50 to begin with, if you make it that way, then you can see what it's going to hit. And that's going to hit the upper part of my flag, right? So then, if you create that, you got that wind here blowing there. You could have wind effect over here blowing from the other side, so you can get it flapping all around. So there's a lot of different effects you can achieve there. That actually looks pretty good with that number of vertices. This actually looks pretty smooth, doesn't it? But again, there's other tools available up here somewhere. Where was the smooth at? I thought there was a smooth over here. Oh, there is if you choose the right one. See, there's a smooth here. And I click that. See how it's got more of a smooth effect? So you don't want to sit there and just create vertices out of the wazoo. Your goal is to have the minimum number of vertices and achieve the same effect. Because the more vertices you create, then the slower the animation is, and it's not efficient. So using these modifications, the tools here, will make a better effect. Okay, you can save that if you want, so you can refer to it. If you don't want to save it, that's fine too. Now, just for fun, you got your cube here. I want to delete it. And we're going to add a monkey on. So we got our monkey here. Now we got our, over here are our physics again. And we can choose cloth on the monkey. And you probably figure out what would happen if I did a animation, right? Just drop off the screen. So let's go add a vertex group. So the monkey's pinned. So I'm going to go in my edit mode. I don't got many vertices up here, do I? So if I want to create some more, remember you can you can subdivide. I'm going to make sure I don't have everything selected though, because I don't want necessarily a bunch of vertices. But I'm choosing those ones up there, and I do a W for subdivide. And I got more here. Let me do one more subdivide. That's probably good enough. Again, it'd be overkill probably to do it on the rest. Just doing it on those. I'm going to choose whatever vertices here. I'm going to come over to my Vertex Group option. That's the three little, that's a triangle looking thing here. That right there. I want to choose an add for the Vertex Group. And I'll double click Group and then change it to like top of head. I was curious if it let me put spaces. It did. And I'll click Assign to assign the ones I have selected. Oh, shoot, I didn't choose them on top of the head. Oh, well. Now I'm going to, let's see, I had the object selected. I went into object mode. And I'm going to go to Physics. And under my cloth, I want to choose Pinning. And choose top of the head. And now if I do the animation, it didn't do anything. I wonder if it has to go one time through.
No, it did something for me.
Did it?
Yeah. His eyes fell out. Dude, Jesus.
Oh, well, that's pretty disturbing. I wonder if his eyes are a separate part of the mesh. That's funny. Oh, I'm sorry. I don't know why I find that so funny. They look like they're part of this mesh, don't they?
Yeah.
Why in the world would the eyes fall out?
Maybe separate from the eye sockets.
Yeah, maybe they're not attached at all. Yeah, even though they're here, that doesn't necessarily, like you say, mean that they're. Now the reason why you would have them separate like that, not physically attached with an edge, is so if you wanted to move the eyes, like in an animation. If you had them attached, then it wouldn't be as easy. Maybe I'm just guessing. I don't know how they designed Suzanne. Okay. And you could do wind on it, having to flow out and so forth. Interesting. Well, what I want you working the rest of the time is create a flag blowing. So create a flagpole, throw an image on it. Pick whatever texture you want, and then if you have time, go ahead and do the render and create an animation. If you don't have time, because it does take a while, you see there's a file export. Wait a minute, that's not the one. Oh, here it is. Do a file, external data, and pack all into blend. And if you forget that, I'll show that to you again. What happens is that when you do the image and you just turn in the blend file, I don't get the image. So what this does is it copies your image over, so when I open it up, I actually see the texture. That took me a while the first time I taught this class. Nobody's images were showing up. It's like, what the? And then, so here, external data, pack all into .blend. I'll go ahead and stop the recording here.